Can I stop on a part three? Now, this is a question that comes up quite a lot and often is a bit of a hangover from during COVID times where you weren't allowed to stop on the part three, or very restricted to stopping on the part three. They wanted to see a wheels moving lesson. Now, that no longer applies. You can absolutely stop on your part three. However, they still want to see a wheels moving most of the time lesson because we're teaching a practical skill, and they want to see you delivering that practical skill and helping the learner develop that practical skill. However, there are absolutely times that you need to pull over to analyze what you're going to do with the learner, analyze situations, dig a bit deeper into the conversation. So absolutely you need to be pulling over to dig a little bit deeper into your lessons. I also think we need to be pulling over to just check in with the pupil and see where we're at. Now, how often have you heard that people on part threes or standards check come back and the lessons kind of got away from them and they've not really steered it in the right direction? And often this is because they haven't pulled over. When you pull over, you have that, not just that moment for your pupil to reflect, but it's a moment for you to reflect and a moment for you to just take a second and just go, where are we? Like, is this working? Am I at the right level? Am I delivering the right thing? Is there something we missed and we need to go and have a look at? Is this too easy for the pupil? Is this too hard for the pupil? And quite often that pull over moment where you just can check in really allows you to adapt the lesson to really make it worthwhile for the pupil. You can rescue a part three with that pullover. So I quite often suggest putting in, not forcing it, but just put kind of when it feels right, pulling over to just kind of check in and make sure that you're on the right track. Other reasons you would pull over. So if something big happens, if something big enough that you feel this is going to turn into a conversation and situations happen and you think, oh, that needs a bit more of a chat. I had a situation the other day. I was sat in the back of a car, and the pupil spotted the person approaching the zebra crossing, but didn't quite understand it didn't quite read the body language correctly. Now, we asked a couple of questions on the move, but it was one of those moments where it needed a bit more digging deeper. It needed a bit more detail in that conversation, something you couldn't do on the move because there was other stuff happening as we were going forward. And so it was one of those moments where we're like, okay, we need to add some learning to this situation. Let's pull over and have a chat. Other reasons I would be pulling over is maybe you've challenged the pupil to do 5 or 6 roundabouts independently with some great decisions, or looking early, or whatever, approaching at the right speed. At some point you need to pull over and check in. How's this going? Is it working? How did you do? What went well? Why did it go well? What have you learned from that? And those moments of like deliberately, we're going to pull over when we've done these 5 roundabouts, and we're going to just assess and reflect on how it's gone. By putting it in place that you're going to do that, it no longer becomes this only pulling over because you're going to give them a bollocking. And so really sort of kind of planning these positive points to reflect on how it's going, tweak those dials of the lesson, so working out whether this is working for the pupil really keeps your lesson on track and stops it running off into doing the same thing over and over again and it not working.